Hello everyone and welcome to my channel MiTutorials. In this tutorial, I will be talking about an exciting function called as VSTACK within Excel. Now VSTACK stands for vertical stack. As the name suggests, this function basically stacks multiple ranges or arrays on top of each other. So let's see some use cases of where we can use this particular function and how this can be helpful. So let's get started with this tutorial. So in this use case scenario over here, I have 4 different sheets which has the sales data of different quarters, and I want to sort of bring all of them into one single table. Now instead of copying the data from every single sheet and pasting it into a new sheet, what we can do is we can use the VSTACK function. So let's use the function now. I'm going to call the VSTACK function over here. I'm going to go into the first sheet that I have over here. Let's say I want to just bring in few rows from this particular table. I'm going to select these rows over here followed by a comma, and then from the second sheet I want to bring in few more rows. This time I will choose to ignore the header of this particular table followed by a comma, and then I'm going to go to my third sheet and select the number of rows that I want from this particular table. I'm going to close the bracket here and press enter, and you will see that we've now created a table with all of the data combined from those 3 different tables. Now however, we only selected few rows from those tables. Now let's say if you want to select the entire table in itself. So the way we can do this is, so what I've done here is I have created a table by going into the insert tab and click on table over here. I've already created a table and the table name is called table Q1. So what I will do is, instead of passing in, let me just get rid of this formula over here. Let me start typing this again. I'm going to call the VSTACK function, and I can simply pass in the table name in this case. So table Q1 followed by table Q2 followed by table Q3 and followed by table Q4. I'm going to close the bracket here and press enter, and now you see that I have all of the data from all the different sheets that I have. And when I filter here and see, I have Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4 data, but there's one thing missing. What is that? The headers of the table. So headers of the table are missing because we've used the table as a range to bring in or stack the data here vertically. So to add the headers back into our table, what we will have to do is we will open curly brackets over here and we will pass in the column names manually. The first column here is the customer name followed by a comma, open quotes again, and the second column here is category followed by comma, and then there is date followed by a comma, and then there is quarter and the sales amount. And then I'm going to close the curly brackets over here and type in a comma and then press enter, and now you will see that we've got the header names as well as all of the data available from in these 4 tabs. And now let's look at another scenario. I have only 4 tabs in my use case over here. Now let's say you have 30 tabs or 40 tabs in your Excel sheet and you want to combine all of them together. How can you do that? Instead of typing in manually all the sheet names or table names over here, what we can do is we can use the 3D range. So what this does is, I'm going to type in the VSTACK function again over here, and now I'm going to select all the sheets that I have in my workbook, which is Q1 to Q4, and then I'm going to select the range over here, for example just the few rows in this case. And now you don't know how many rows are there in which table. For example, in this table that I have over here, I have about 691 rows, but in my second table I might only have about 300 rows, and my third table I might have around 1000 odd rows. So I don't really know how many rows are there in which table. In this case, what I will do is I will pass in the maximum number of rows that I think are available in that particular tab. So let's say, for example, the maximum rows that I have in my sample data set here is about 1100 odd rows, and what I will do is I will enter 1500 here so that I'm on safer side to include all the rows that I have in my table. I'm going to close the bracket here and press enter. Oops, I've entered the range twice over here. I'm going to get rid of one and now press enter, and now you see that I have got all of the rows from different tabs. And when I go here and filter here, you see that since we entered 1500 as our range over here, because in this particular table I only have 900 rows, the remaining rows over here up till 5500 are going to be returned as 0. So in this case we need to filter this data out. So to do that, what I will do is I will pass in another function over here called as filter, and I'm going to pass the VStack here as an array followed by a comma, and then I'm going to copy the VStack formula here, paste this back again, and then I'm going to change the range of E here to A, and then say is not equals to blank. I'm going to close the bracket here and press enter, and now let's add the filter again and check, and now we don't have the blank values in my table. I only have the data from Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. By now you would have noticed that we don't have the headers in this particular table. So to add the headers back, what we will do is we will pass the VStack function again over here, and this time I'm going to open the curly brackets again and then pass in the names of those columns. So I've passed the names of the columns like we did earlier, and then I'm going to close the bracket here and press enter. And now we have the data from all the tabs without you having to manually enter the sheet names in that particular function. So this is a great function which Excel has introduced. I hope you guys will be able to use this at your workplace and make your life easy. Now, similar to VStack, you also have a function called as headStack, which basically is the opposite of VStack, which means that it will stack the data horizontally. For example, let me just show you a quick example. So it's going to be when you use the VStack function, let me paste values, and then so the data is going to appear like this. It's going to stack horizontally. So I want you guys to explore that particular function and see how you can incorporate that within your requirements at your workplace. So that's it guys in this particular tutorial. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. You've learned something new today. Please consider subscribing to my channel for more such tutorials.